said, we serve a limitless God. Everything we have, everything, the air we breathe, these computers we're talking through, all of it. So why would you have a limit? All you have to do is ask. If you ask, you take and be patient. Now, it might not happen exactly when you want it, and that in the next hour, it will come. It will. But you have to believe it. And I think when we start to limit our minds and our beliefs is when we are slowly hurting that, right? It's just pushing it further down the line.
Yeah. Welcome to Connecting the Dots. I'm your host, Jessica Carice, and this space is a place where we talk about seemingly random topics, but in all actuality, they're connected together. And today we have a very special guest. His name is Chad Covington. He actually responded to one of my cold email outreach. We had a fantastic conversation, and now here we are today. And Chad is passionate about solving complex problems, empowering others, and making a positive impact wherever he goes. He's currently the CEO of Created Within, a company that is focused on turning big ideas into reality and helping individuals and organizations solve complex problems. Chad Covington, how are you?
Oh, wow. Thank you so much for having me. This is exciting.
I'm so happy you're on the show.
I am too. And it's funny, just from a small email and then us having our introduction and conversation. I just don't feel like things happen by mistake. So everything, as I've learned in life in the journey, right, things start to just kind of become reality when you least expect it, and often not in the ways that you expect it to. So again, I appreciate you for having me this morning.
That's really true. That's really true. You know, like for myself, I'm really looking at things from like an energetic perspective and just learning more about you and everything you stand for and what you're trying to do. It's like, me too. So let's dive into like your current day to day. Let's talk about, you're the CEO of Created Within and you have a couple of other things going on. So paint the
Right.
picture of what your life is like right now.
My life is very interesting. If I look back and think back to my childhood, I would not have thought I was going to be doing multi-million dollar projects and helping these companies. A day to day for me as the CEO is really just looking forward, right? I'm going to say my gift and my curse is I'm able to see life in a different way, right? And what that means for me is just understanding that the idea of my whole company is the reality that we have today was once an idea in someone's head. And so for me, I'm just passionate about helping that become reality. And so every day I'm thinking of, okay, what companies can I be reaching out to? What problems can I solve? How can we do things better? Which is not always easy, right? Sometimes you have to go against the grain, as I'll say, and think through, how do I make this a reality? And often being told it's not possible. I think for me, my biggest thing is one of how I was raised with my mother, single parent home back in Hampton, Virginia, and just a strong foundation of faith and faith in the unknown, and that anything that you can think of is possible. Might take a little bit of time and money, but it is possible.
Yeah.
Typically for me, I mean, an average day, right? I'm waking up about 3 to 4 a.m. every morning, Arizona time.
4 a.m. every morning. Oh my God.
It becomes it's a routine. I mean, once you get in the habit of it in the beginning, it's like, okay, where's my coffee? Um, the sun's not up. It just takes a little bit of time to get your body and your mindset there. But when you do, it becomes now the expectation. I think when you get up earlier than everyone else, you're able to process, you're able to have that moment to be still and think through things, which allow you more time in your day. I had a few great leaders in my life so far that have always taught me, Chad, I was very money driven, which is not the right thing to be in my opinion. What I've learned is if you're focused on driving value and helping people, like truly helping them, the money's going to come. And you can always make more money, but you cannot make more time.
Yes.
So that's something I've just tried to live by and focus on and just continue to be positive and just work towards that. Like I said, my true passion is just helping people. But we're here today just because I saw your great marketing. I get emails every day, from different people that want to partner up or do things. And most of it's specifically driven around money, and just the way that the message you sent, I was like, okay, this is different. And it just aligned with some of the values that I have. So
It's so funny, Chad, because even my cold outreach, that has been a whole journey this year.
yeah,
Like, where initially I was leveraging, like, oh, use this template, use that, blah, 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 blah. I think we had touched about this. But what the message that I sent to you is literally the first one. I'm like, you know what? Forget all these templates. I'm going to just write like me
right,
and see what
right.
happens.
I think for me personally, that relates to showing up as your authentic self. And we kind of talked about that. Everyone gives me a little bit of grief about my hair, because in the corporate world, typically you don't have someone that has braids or they have an afro. Um, and typically when I walk in the room, that's the first thing I'm approached with, is about my hair.
I love your
Uh,
hair. I love your hair. Like, it's my
my
goal to have
mother,
a huge afro.
look,
I love your
my
hair.
mother, boy, when you gonna cut that hair and quit playing? Um, but it just, it taught me, mainly during the pandemic, is, am I being true to myself? And I had to look myself in the mirror and tell me, I'm not. This is something that I've always wanted to do. And I've showed up in my appearance to appease others, to make them feel more comfortable, but I was not comfortable within myself. And so when I
Yeah.
saw your message, it just came across so authentic. And I'm like, yes.
Yeah. Showing up as your authentic self is hard,
It
right?
is
It's
hard.
hard initially, right? So, what steps did you take to start being able to let go of that fear and show up authentically you?
It's a risk. And I will say, a part of me, I've talked about doing some type of study, right? Before, and I'll use my hair as an example, before the afro, right? Very clean cut, always, and I still wear suits and things of that nature, right? I was, before pandemic, in the office every day. I was actually leading a very big merger where we ended up doing a deal with the company selling to US Foods, where very clean cut. And it seemed like I was just climbing the corporate ladder so fast, to where I got to a point where the pandemic hit, and, we all became isolated. And I started to dig a little further and learn more about myself.
Hmm.
And it just made me question, Chad, who are you? Like, who are you, and what are you trying to solve out of this life? I think one of the many blessings I had was I was surrounded by successful people that did things that I never saw before, right? Billion-dollar mergers, and it was family generational wealth that I got to personally see. Hey, if you build your company the right way, you build the infrastructure, you take care of your associates and your team, it can create wealth that will outlast your lifetime. And I think for me, that was one of the things that I just started to realize, is like, um, taking that moment to show up as who you truly are. And people are going to accept you regardless. And
Yeah.
that's what I've learned over time. And some of it did actually show up as kind of maybe my own perception or insecurity, for lack of better words, I guess.
Interesting.
And just seeing like, hey, if I'm typically the only person of color in most of my meetings, which is okay, right? It's the ability to show up into those meetings and articulate yourself well, that it doesn't matter what you look like. They want to know what your intellect is,
Yeah.
right? And what do you bring to the table? And I think it took me a very long time to be comfortable with that and be accepted internally.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. The reason why I ask you that question is, like, for myself, I went through a really, really deep personal transformation last year. And one of the things I realized was all of my behavior and everything was all a mask just to make other people happy. And
Right.
I'm still going through some ahas, like with some even more subtle beliefs I had. And so now it's like I described to my husband where it feels like there's like this wall that's like shattering, and that this person is just like, oh, I'm free to express myself finally. Like that's literally how I feel inside. But what I found with the relationships is I'm attracting more people where we really have the same values, where before the people I would attract, I'm like, we don't align, but I'll just be nice anyways. Like it's such a really subtle shift for myself with the type of people that come into my life, even like the type of clients that I serve, it's all shifted just because I just showed up as myself now.
Right.
And it's like, wow, I can't believe I was so scared to do this my whole life, where now it's like I've had the happiest year of my life. I feel whole
Right.
because I'm just letting myself be and I'm not
Right.
judging myself.
I think that's beautiful, and it's easier said than done. The work, it's work. It is. I mean, hell, we were joking earlier about my name, right? When I get jobs and opportunities, I used to make a joke. I'm like, hey, surprise, I'm black. Yes, I'm here. Hi, because on paper, and my mom is my heart, so I reference her a lot, but that's a gift she gave me, right? That actually gets me opportunities in the door just by my name, right? But
Yeah.
then um, you have to work a little bit harder, and you have to show that. And I just hear what you're saying, and I think it's a constant evolution. We'll never stop because we're always going to continue to be growing and evolving.
Yeah. 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 Growing and evolving and then making sure that you stay
Right,
true.
right.
So what are some of the tactics you use to make sure you stay true to yourself?
For me, there's just things. I'm I'm very social, but I'm very much I stay to myself, right? Like an average day for me is I'm up early working hard. I typically try to make it to the gym. I have been slacking on that these last few months, but I'm gonna get back in there. My girlfriend has been very much an inspiration in that way, and just positivity. I try to surround myself in positivity, and check in with myself. You know, meditation. Every morning, I typically try to go for a walk. I pray and I ask God for guidance. I'm like, look, I think I know what I'm doing, but I don't. I need a little bit of help. I need you to kind of show me the way. I ask Him to, bring people that need my help,
Hmm.
the people that I can help, and use me as a vessel to truly be the person and the man that I am capable of becoming, right? Because if you'd asked me what I'm going to become 20 years plus ago, I'd be like, oh, I'm going to be sitting on the bench next to LeBron James in the NBA, right? But now I'm leading multi-million dollar projects and technical implementations and things of that nature. So um, I think you have to give yourself grace to become who you are, and also grace to be in the realm of understanding that it's not about failing. You are going to succeed. It's going to take time, right?
Yeah.
And often I'll use some things that I had back in my early 20s. I said, I'm going to be a millionaire by 30, and I want to be a director by 30, right? So I got the director title by 30. Um, Shortly after, did not get the million at the time period that I wanted at the time. But what I had to realize is that none of that matters. It doesn't. Who did you help? How are you making this world a better place? And what value are you driving?
Yeah. Yeah. Have you always been like this, Chad?
I've always been a giver.
Mm.
I've always been a giver. And my mother will tell you that too. Even as a child, um, I'd give anyone anything. I don't, it's almost ingrained in me. And I think a lot of that has to do with just my upbringing, but who I am as a natural person. I will help you. And that can also be a bad thing too, right? Like I will help you to a fault.
Yeah.
Um, just because I know I don't believe in limitations. I don't believe in can't. It just takes a
Yeah.
little bit of time and effort.
Yeah.
I think more spirituality has hit me harder in the last maybe 3 years. Um,
Mhm.
just growth in. I've been more isolated than I have been in the past. I was a lot more social, and I'd go out, hang out with friends, and um, knew everybody. But lately I've been kind of just staying to myself and doing more of the inner work.
Mm. Mhm. 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 Yeah. It's so funny when you say that you're naturally a giver, because for myself, I've been toying with this behavior I've always had as like since a kid where I would like for example my little brother was struggling in school and I'm like, okay, what can I do to make sure that he doesn't struggle in school? What can
Right.
I do to, help this person? What can I do to make sure this person blah 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 blah. And like when you say like you're a giver to a fault, for myself, I would just be so involved with
Right.
someone's life because I'm like, no, you can just you can do it, And but I found that like for me, being so intricately involved with someone's personal life was extremely draining for myself, where it felt like I was like withering on the inside because I was giving so much, right?
Hmm.
So it's funny because like in my spiritual journey now I'm like, okay, wait, how can I give to myself?
And so I listen, we are very, very similar. And I had to learn it's not being selfish, it's self-care. Okay. And what I also had to learn, and I was significantly humbled, sometimes people are going through their storm because I don't care what your belief is, whether it's God, the universe, higher energy, higher power, whatever, but sometimes they're being taken through that journey because they're being prepared for more, right? And you're blocking that because you're just going in and solving all their problems. And so what happens is, what I've come across is that it's almost like you begin to get a God complex where they just like, you know what? Let me go to Chad. He'll solve it, right?
Yeah.
Instead of they need to be reaching higher than me because I am nothing but a man, right? And you will be shown that there is a higher power, whether you want to call it God, whatever spiritual at a higher level, you need to be going there first before you go to any man. And I've been trying to do better about telling some of my friends that might need help or family members, like, hey, let's take a step back, or maybe not solving the whole problem. Like, I can do half to allow them to go and figure out the rest,
Mhm.
which is
Mhm.
hard for me to do. It is hard because
Yeah.
I genuinely just want to help.
Yeah. Yeah. Like for me, I definitely have a hard time balancing that because I've acknowledged I can be extreme. So I'm either committed, we're going to
Right.
do this, or I'm not involved.
Right.
So how do you like how do you keep any type of guardrails up?
It's hard. I'm still struggling with it to this day. I mean, if I told you some of the stories that I've helped people, and I don't even know how I came up with the solution, but we were able to do it. And I'm like, okay. But the sad part is I won't do it for myself, right? Like I could get a phone call saying, hey, Chad, I need to come up with $100,000 or a down payment on my house or a car. And whether I have it or not, I will figure out a way to help that person and do it in like an hour. But for myself, and it's something I've struggled with. It's giving yourself more self love, right? Because when you're often giving so much, sometimes you need to kind of come back home and think about what am I doing for myself to uplift my spirit. And there's a friend of mine, a gentleman named of Chris Dennis. He told me this a long time ago. He said, "Boy, you better fill your cup before you fill in everybody else's." And that has always it's in the back of my head. Like, how am I doing? Am I okay? And check in.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So how do you know if you are giving yourself enough? Cuz like for myself right now I feel like I give myself, self-love, but there's still things where I'm like, if only I had more time to dedicate to it. But then I'm making time for all this other stuff.
Right. That's the balance, right? Where you got to keep checking in and take a step back. I, I'm guilty of it. I'm extremely busy, and what am I doing? But I have to ask myself, are you productive? What are you truly producing? what does your day look like? What are you trying to accomplish every day that gets you to that bigger goal? And you got to be honest with yourself, myself included, right? There's things that I've written down. I got a big whiteboard behind me I'm looking at right now where it's like I got goals and things that I want to achieve, but why did I not hit those goals? What did I do that I could have controlled that was completely in my power that I said, you know what, I'm gonna go and do these other 10 things. And that's that focus and discipline you've got to start to get over time.
Yeah. Hmm. I definitely feel like I'm entering the season where, like, I have a decent amount of discipline compared to other people,
Right.
but not compared to the people that I'm trying to really be like, you
Right.
know?
Right. It's funny. I talk to some of my friends in like my close group, friends and family, and they're often like, "You're doing too much. You're gonna burn out," and this and that, right? So I recently joined this. It's a community out here called Alliances, but it's more for entrepreneurs. And I was talking to some of them and telling them what I'm trying to do and achieve, and then they told me what they're doing, and I'm like, I'm not crazy. It's just who I'm surrounded by. We're in a different mindset, and that's okay. Um, they were like, you need to be doing about 3 times more what you're doing. So it humbled
Yeah.
me, because I'm like, I'm over here thinking I'm doing too much, and it's like, no, you could be doing more. Are you truly maximizing your day, right?
Yeah. 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 It's the funniest thing because like the whole comment about burnout, right?
Yeah,
Because like some of my friends, I'm like, yeah, I have this, I'm doing this weekend, blah 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 blah. But it's like I realize like my identity has really shifted. Like when I think about myself on the inside, I just see light. I don't see I'm Jessica and I was born in this place and blah blah blah. I just
right,
like my internal image is a light. So I feel like I'm here with some type of purpose and I just have this stamina now where I'm just doing because I'm just so like that there's a mission, there's something I need to help. I need to do whatever I came here to do. So
right.
like I don't really experience so much burnout anymore, but I know that I do need to take time to make sure I rest at least one weekend out of the month.
Right. That's
So
right.
like how would you describe that for yourself?
I think for me, as of lately, I've been spiritually being moved, and um, my girlfriend looks at me like I'm crazy. Sometimes I feel like it's probably just me, but I'm like, I feel like I'm spiritually moving up to another level to where I can sense things and I can feel things, and even sometimes I have visions of things to come, and it scares me, but it's never anything bad. It's just more like, oh wow, okay. Uh,
Yeah.
I think personally, I have got to have quiet alone time. And
Yeah.
it's nothing to do with anyone else. It's just a moment for me to process and think
Yeah.
and be still.
Yeah.
And then when I come out of that moment, it's like, what in the world did you give this boy? Because he is moving 1,000 times faster, and things just continue to just move forward.
Yeah. I'm so happy you touched on that like moment where you're like, "Oh man," like you sense some big thing coming towards you cuz I was literally having that same conversation with my husband last night. I'm
Yeah,
like, "Babe, I feel like there's this whole big wave of unknowingness like heading my way and it like freaks me out a little bit."
yeah.
Not that it's going to be anything bad. No, no, no. It just feels like a whole wave of something that's hard for me to describe.
I feel the same way. And I just was having this conversation, and I'm like, man, people probably think I'm crazy. Let me just keep this to myself because I'm like, I feel it and I don't know how to explain
Yes.
it.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. I feel it. I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah,
And now I'm at the point where I don't think I'm going crazy anymore just because of all the events that really unfold this last year of my life when I like was really taking my spiritual walk, my relationship with God to the forefront of my life before I do anything else. There's just been way too many synchronicities for me to be like I'm going crazy. No way. It's like no, this is real.
and it's when you look back, that's the funny part is just like assessing it and like, okay, wow, that happened. Okay, this happened. And it's in lockstep in the path that you're supposed to be on. Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes we think, and we're supposed to be on this other path, and then God says, nope, time out, you're supposed to be over here. Um, it's funny, this very room that I'm in right now, my home, when I first walked in here, I remember I was actually still working at US Foods. We had did the deal when I just moved here during the pandemic. This office was empty, and I had this overwhelming energy and spirit just said, this is where you're going to build your wealth. And I didn't have a company then. I was still working the regular 9 to 5. And it just overwhelmed me to the point where now when I look across and I'm like, all right, I got a logo up, got my whiteboard, got my monitors. And I'm like, okay, it's coming. But and it seems like it's taking a long time, but it really has. It's been almost like 2.5, almost 3 years. And it
Wow.
just continues to evolve. So um, I'm excited and nervous at the same time to see where the future is going to lead.
Yeah. But at the same time, it's what you came here for.
Right, right. Your purpose. And
Yeah.
knowing your purpose is a gift in itself.
Yeah.
Like, I know I'm put on this earth to help others. I know that. I have a love for God's people. I do. And whether you're a stranger, whether I've known you for 20 plus years, I don't care. I'm like, okay, I will help you. Now I often get those looks like, why are you helping this person? You do not know them. And that's okay too. But I know within my inner person and my spirit, I'm here to do good,
Yeah.
period. And my intent is always good.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah.
Same, same, same. And it's like when you realize what your purpose is and you believe and accept, there's also that part too. You have to accept your purpose
Right.
and say, God, okay, I'm going to do this. Things change so fast. Like,
It's so true. It is. I don't know. I think it's it's a lot when you realize it. When you truly realize what you are capable of and who you can become,
yeah.
reaching your full potential. I watch a lot of David Goggins, and I saw one
Mm,
clip talking about, I think it was where he dies, and at the end of his journey, he's talking to God, and he's like, you were supposed to be this, but you only did this. Right. That hit home for me because I'm like, um, aspire and I work to be so much more. And I'm to the point in my life now where I'm not going to stop until it's a reality
yeah.
and put
Yeah.
put the work in, you know?
Yeah. 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 It's funny because last night when I was talking to my husband, I'm like, I'm not even at a place where it's like I'm happy to accomplish this or I have I have goals, but it's like it feels like this whole rock of determination where it's like it doesn't matter what Jessica wants, even what Jessica wants is slipping away.
Right,
It's like I have to do this. I don't know how,
right.
but it's like I have to do this. And it's I don't know. It's like such a hard thing to describe because, like, I've always been into personal development, self help books type of things.
Right.
And it's like now I'm hitting a point where it's like some of the tips that these books have, it's like it's not so applicable to me anymore because it's like this is what I'm doing, so I need to reprogram myself so my behavior reflects what it needs to reflect for this to happen,
Hmm.
no matter what.
Right. I think that's a big deal. I think, God, we are so aligned. It's crazy because I sit in here and I map out stuff and I talk and I pray and I meditate and I'm like, we've been taught and from my personal opinion, we've been taught things to think a certain way, right? And
Yeah,
it's almost a mindset that limits you. And
yeah,
I think when you learn to challenge that mindset and think bigger than that is when you're able to reach your full purpose. And not everyone can do that, right? And that's okay. Not everyone is designed to achieve their full potential, or nor do they want to. Some people are okay with the status quo. They just want, I'm gonna go do this, and that's it, and that's all I'll ever be, right? But for those of us that want to excel to another level and achieve a higher level, I think you do have to reprogram yourself and be more open-minded to doing things in a different way, which will allow you to achieve that life that you want or those results.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a question I ask myself because there's two really deeply embedded emotions where it feels like it's so much deeper than even my subconscious. Like it feels like it's something that, like, when I was born, I immediately started experiencing these feelings, which was guilt and fear.
Mhm.
So now I'm at a point where it's like I'm noticing just like the subtle inklings of guilt and fear in some of my behavior or some of how I act, or maybe a choice that I make. And the question I ask myself now or visualize is, how would I behave if there was no fear at all?
Right.
How would I behave if there's no guilt at all? Like, just trying to visualize what would it be like if I didn't have any of that,
Mhm.
you know? And so with those type of exercises, it helps to kind of shed whatever existing limiting beliefs that may still be there.
Right.
And then with that, it's shedding more and more fear and guilt. And then with that, it allows me to even look at things in an even wider context and look at myself in a completely different light, so that the behavior changes start to follow through. I guess it's like the even more of an identity shift.
Right. I think it's powerful. Once you stop the limitations of the mind, you can do whatever you want, right? When you truly believe it, and you have to get to a point of in your foundation to where it doesn't matter what the world says, because the
Yeah.
world, the world's always going to say you can't do it, it's not possible, it's never been done, right? Um, you have to know in your true being it can be done. And I tell my close buddies this all the time. I said, we serve a limitless God. Everything we have, everything, the air we breathe, these computers we're talking through, all of it. So why would you have a limit? All you have to do is ask. If you ask, you take and be patient. Now, it might not happen exactly when you want it
Mhm.
in the next hour. It will come.
Mhm.
It will.
Mhm.
But you have to believe it. And I think when we start to limit our minds and our beliefs is when we are slowly hurting that, right?
Yeah.
It's just pushing it further down the line. So I
Yeah.
commend you for that. That's hard. It's hard work.
It is hard, but at the same time, I feel so necessary.
Yeah.
Like I don't have a choice. Like I got to do the work. I have no choice. Like I made a commitment.
Right. I think it's important though, because as you are helping other people and having conversations with other people, I know I talk to so many people and I'm just telling them like, look, it's they'll ask me my story and how I got to where I am, and I'm like, I'm not supposed to be here at all, according to the world's rules. Okay, and through meeting the right people, having the right conversations, being positive, open minded, and doing things in the right way have allowed me to get here. And I'm going to continue to open as many doors for whoever needs my help as I can.
Yeah. 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 So it's so funny when you say like that the point of I'm not supposed to be here. Let's dig into that a little bit.
Absolutely. Originally from Hampton, Virginia, uh, single mother, my mother Jewel. Shout out to my mom if you watch this.
Mhm.
She is my rock, the foundation of my belief system, the foundation of hard work. I've watched her raise myself, my cousins, my god sisters, god brothers, the
Wow.
entire family. She
Wow.
is the foundation, and her belief system and teaching me about the power of believing in God has allowed me to get to where I am at in life, right? Grew up in Hampton, high school, went to Kickinton High School, went from there, went to a small college called Avery University, transferred out of that, went to Radford University where I finished school. And during those times when I was at Radford, went through some financial hardship, right? And the way everything works out, it's kind of crazy when I think back to it. So I'm going out a little story right now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
My mother and my father divorced when I was 2. My godfather, his name is Gregory Settles. He was my father's high-ranking officer in the military. He became my godfather. My godfather had his children. His wife had died, and my mom became practically their godmom. And so they remain friends until this day. That relationship, and they are my family, we have been there for each other throughout my entire lifetime. My god sister Sabrina, she and my mom, that's her godmom, they went through life together. And then as I grew up and went to college, my god sister was there for me and helping mentor me in a lot of the things that I know from a business perspective. Even being there for me financially when times got rough to finish college, I would not even finish it without her. Teaching me about internships, teaching me about that foundational stuff, things in Excel, financial modeling, things of that nature, the stock market, um, just things that were very foundation to who I am to this day. I owe to that relationship, and I thank God for them. I thank God for my mother, my family in general. From there, I've always had to work a little bit harder and be open to doing things. Um, Went in from college and went right into working at enterprise. First job out of college and doing sales and learning further along as far as business, um, and learning how to read a P&L, which I got lucky enough. My stepfather, Wayne, he was able to help me with an opportunity with a company that was open back then called DynCorp, which then migrated me to Texas and got me more of the technical system route. Uh, and then from there, just moved on to Arizona, where I'm at now, and I've been here ever since. But I think I have always foundationally been told since a very young child, there's nothing you can't do, right? There is nothing you cannot do. You can do whatever you want in this world. You won't have to work for it, and it's going to take a little bit of time. And I think that foundation is what started my belief system. It does get me into trouble sometimes because I'm like, I feel like I should be on stage with Elon talking about these cars too. um, but I think it's a foundation of hard work. It's a foundation of I don't care what everyone else says. You can do it. It's a foundation of love. It's a foundation of positivity. Um, my mom, she had me just. It was never a no, and she did everything. I was such a stubborn kid, right? Like most kids, when you go to college, you apply for multiple colleges. Not me. I barely got any playing time on the high school basketball team, so I just knew I'm gonna go play for Duke University underneath Coach K, and I'm gonna start. But I can't even get playing time in my high school basketball team. So, and my mom she still backed me. She said, "All right, baby, yep, we're gonna get you into Duke." Okay, I made it to the second round of interviews. Made it to the second round of interviews, knowing, Mama, we can't afford Duke University prices, even if I wanted to go to Duke. But it's okay. We're gonna figure it out. And I think that just it's a spirit of belief. Even to this day, I got on my revenue $1 billion, and I'm like, okay, how much is that monthly, weekly, hourly to the second? Right? I call it, my $1 billion layaway plan because I'm like, I'm gonna get there. Just
Yeah.
you've got to believe it. And I have a very strong family, and it makes me sad sometimes that I'm not physically there as much as often as I want to be. But I know that I am key to our family's generational wealth. And I know that I'm going to say, take a step away physically from being there to learn. There are things that I was able to come and progress that I would not been able to as fast as I have. Might have taken me a little
Mhm.
bit longer time if I had stayed back in Virginia, but I'm truly just thankful for that. And without that foundation, I would not be who I am today.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. I love that so much. I love that. I love that your mom believed in you and, you know, 'cause I always admire when people have that type of support. Because, like, for myself, I didn't really have that so much. You know? So there was like that extra fight to like, "Wait, Jess, you can believe in yourself," right? So it's
Mhm.
like, you know, when you talk to me about your mom, I'm like, "Oh, wow, that's so special." Like, that's so and, you know, I feel like your family probably knows what you're trying to do, like, deep down. Of course, they miss you too, but they're probably cheering you on like, "Yeah, Chad got this," you know? Like
They're supportive and just good people, you know.
Yeah.
And it's rare. I recognize that the more friends and more people I meet, I'm like, okay, ma, I see you. I appreciate you, but I appreciate you even more. You know, just it
Yeah.
means a lot to me.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, that's a blessing even of itself. Like, I'm so happy for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So it's so funny. You mentioned like, you know, you have your $1 billion revenue. I actually think it's so feasible to accomplish.
It is. It really is. And it's such a small scale in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
Uh, that's one thing I am so guilty of is saying, let me set this one goal. But what I learned is that you have to have a goal. Now that goal, your goal may seem big to you, and God's laughing like, "Huh, that's nothing. I really wanted you to be at this."
Mhm.
But I've learned that you do need to have some type of goal,
Yeah.
and they are attainable, like you're saying, they are.
Yeah. 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 And then the other thing you mentioned about, you know, talking on stage with Elon, like, I don't think that's so far away either, you know? Like, seriously, because as you're networking, as you're growing your business, as you're changing socioeconomic status, you meet this person who knows this person, who's friends with this person, you know?
Right,
And then you just slowly start meeting people where it's
right,
like, "Oh my god," you
yeah,
know?
yeah. I think that just as I look at people that influence this world, I'm not going to go into more of like the whole social media stuff. I'm thinking more of what are they trying to do and impact
Yeah.
this world,
Yeah.
solving some of the world's problems. And I think there's not a lot of people that are truly trying to do that.
No.
And
No.
that's where my passion is how do we truly solve this and make this better?
Yeah. Yeah. There's a couple things that I'm working on with, some other people who have that same type of goal. Like, how do we really figure out how to make things better through and through,
Right,
you know? And I feel like there's some growing wave of people where that's becoming more prominent. And so that's why I think like what you say is not that far away because there's the rap saying like real recognizes real.
right.
You know what I mean? And the more people that you meet that let's say are further along than you, they see what you're trying to do and they're trying to do the same thing. Like that's where real impact and real change happens.
Mhm. That's so true. It's all coming together as it's supposed to. And the
Yeah.
timing. It's the timing of it, if anything. I'm like, okay. Because you can never have certain things that just, when you meet people and why they cross your paths, it's for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Chad, I feel like I'm so happy I sent you that cold email.
I am too. I am too. Like, look, it's for a reason, and it's always. It's
Yeah.
just been ever since we've started talking. It's been positive energy, and crazy how similar the paths are too. Right? You can't make it up.
No. No. Very, very, very similar. Very, very, very similar. And it's so funny, like even when we were chatting on the phone, It's like I felt peace emanating from you, like just radiating through the phone. Like, I mean, me and Chad, we didn't have a longer conversation. We didn't even chat on my podcast.
That is too funny. My girlfriend
So,
says that she's like, baby, you give me, she's like, your voice is just so soothing and peaceful. I'm like, girl, don't tell me that. I'm gonna record it and put it on the app and do the Newberry White. Okay.
what you could probably do, you could probably make guided meditation YouTube videos, like so serious. Like you don't even have to show your face. Well, you could show your face if you want to, but
Either way,
you
right.
know, you can have you can use generative AI for like the soothing, and then you're like, okay, now take a deep breath. This was
Write
fantastic.
it down. New revenue stream right there.
Exactly. No, there are a lot of views on those type of videos, like
That's funny.
for the meditative videos. Yeah. So Chad, if you could give your top 3 pieces of advice for people, let's say they want to find their purpose or they feel like they're called for something more, but they don't know how to get started, what would you say to them?
That's a really, really good question. And I'm just thinking for me, it's always going to start with faith first, right? Whatever that means to you, I would dig into that the furthest. And being comfortable with humility, right? Saying, God, I don't know. I need your help. I need direction. I need guidance to send your people into my life to help me, right? The next piece for me would be just doing the inner work of you, seeing who you truly are and what do you want, right? Taking that time and figuring out what that looks like and like I said earlier, giving yourself the grace. It's okay. You know, you're going to change your mind a couple times and it's okay. Don't be so hard on yourself. Don't worry about the outside world. And that's my last piece. I would say the third is just, it's a little bit of a 3 and a 4, but I would make a list, write it down, write it down. I always remember that quote. It's in the Bible. I think it's Habakkuk 2:2, and it talks about writing down your purpose and your path and where you're trying to go. God will not, it will come true, right? But you need to write it down. And I would just try to say limit those negative outside world opinions, because what happens I've found is that people often put a limitation on your gift and your blessing. So be careful. Be careful who you tell what you're trying to do. And their limitation is based off of them, not based off of you.
That's hot fire. It's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, people will try to put a limitation on your gift. That's really good. Yes. Through and through, yes, they will.
Mm-hmm.
Or try to keep it for themselves.
Right.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. And where can people find you, Chad Covington?
Well, I need to come out of hiding. I keep joking. I'm like, y'all, everybody wants me on Instagram and Facebook. I'm like, I'm waiting on MySpace to come back around, then I might join y'all. Mainly on LinkedIn. You can just find me, Chad Covington. My website is createdwithin.com. And that's probably going to be the best place.
Awesome. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much, Chad. Thank you so much for being on the show. Like, I loved our conversation so much. Absolutely. And we're going to be in Arizona in a couple of weeks, so we're definitely going to come see you and your girlfriend.
Yep, let me know. Dinner on me.
Thank you.